Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Thursday. This is Seattle Now. Seattle Mariners legend and newly minted Hall of Famer Ichiro Suzuki will have his number retired by the team this weekend. Coming up, we'll talk about Ichiro's legacy in Seattle and what he means to the global sport of baseball. But first, let's get you caught up. The Washington State Ferry is going to get more expensive. The State Transportation Commission voted to implement 2 fare increases yesterday. The first 3% fare increase for passengers and vehicles goes into effect October 1st. The next one, May 1st. And put this one on the calendar. The commission also approved a universal 35% peak season surcharge for any ticket issued between May 1st and September 30th. The increases are part of a 2-year plan from the legislature to generate more money for our state's transportation budget. Seattle voters will decide on whether to overhaul the city's business and occupation tax on the November ballot. The city council voted this week to ask voters to weigh in on a plan that would reduce the taxes for most smaller businesses and increase them for the city's largest businesses. Supporters say it will raise $80 million a year, which would cut into the city's budget deficit. But the Downtown Seattle Association says the city already has the highest B&O tax in the nation. Raising it for larger businesses, they say, would do more harm than good. And I know we're talking about Mariners baseball today, but Seahawks football is drawing even closer. The Seahawks' first game of the NFL preseason is tonight, and it's against some old friends. Former head coach Pete Carroll and former starting quarterback Geno Smith will head to Lumen Field as members of the Las Vegas Raiders. The game kicks off at 7. You can watch it on King 5. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now.
When fans use their precious time to come watch you play, you have a responsibility to perform for them. I never started packing my equipment or taping boxes until after the season's final out. I felt it was my professional duty to give fans my complete attention each and every game.
One of the greatest hitters to ever play professional baseball will be immortalized by the Seattle Mariners this weekend. The team is retiring number 51 for outfielder Ichiro Suzuki. A few weeks ago, he became the first ever Japanese player to be inducted into Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. Seattle Now senior producer Andy Hurst is here to talk about Ichiro's massive global impact on baseball and his legacy as a Seattle Mariner. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Trish. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad you're here. So what's he got, man? Tell me about his bona fides.
I don't think it's an understatement to say that Ichiro could be the greatest hitter of all time.
Oh.
He finished his career with 3,089 hits. Some important context here, 3,000 hits is a hallowed mark in Major League Baseball. Only 33 players have ever done it.
Okay.
The amazing thing about Ichiro is that he didn't start his MLB career until he was 27.
Wow.
To get to 3,000 hits with all that ground to make up is pretty incredible. Most MLB players begin their careers in their early 20s, sometimes their late teens. If you add Ichiro's hits in Japan to his hits in the U.S., he'd be the all-time hits leader by far.
Wow.
So I think you really could argue that Ichiro is the best pure hitter in MLB history. He owns the all-time single-season hit record. So in 2004, he got 262 hits. He broke a record from a guy named George Sisler that had stood since 1920.
Wow.
1920, Trish. And he was Rookie of the Year and the league MVP in 2001. He won 2 batting titles. He was a 10-time All-Star. He won the Gold Glove 10 times, which is given to elite defenders. By the way, Ichiro fell 1 vote short of being unanimously inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I remember this.
The vote is held by members of the Baseball Writers of America. Here's Ichiro addressing that one writer not voting for him.
3,000 hits or 262 hits in one season are achievements recognized by the writers. Well, all but one of you. And by the way, The offer for that writer to have dinner at my home has now expired.
All right, well, he's clearly a phenom. He clearly has a sense of humor, even about the one guy who didn't vote for him for the Hall of Fame, Andy. Before we get too much further into nerdy baseball stuff, what else should we know about Ichiro?
Well, as you just heard there, he's a goofball. I want to play another clip for you. This is from an interview he did with Bob Costas. This is from 2007.
What is your favorite American expression?
August in Kansas City. It's hotter than two rats in the wolf sock.
Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite.
He transposed a few words there, but he was definitely referring to two rats making love in a sock. He apparently wasn't a fan of Midwest summers because in 2007, he was asked about a road trip to Cleveland. Through an interpreter, he said, quote, "If I ever saw myself saying I'm excited going to Cleveland, I'd punch myself in the face because I'm lying."
Oh my gosh.
Here's Ichiro during his Hall of Fame speech, alluding to his sense of humor.
People often measure me by my records. 3,000 hits, 10 gold gloves, 10 seasons of 200 hits. Not bad, huh? But the truth is, without baseball, you would say, this guy's such a dumbass.
Before Ichiro arrived in 2001, the Mariners were going through some changes, so let's help listeners understand. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, he arrived at a kind of a turbulent time for the Mariners. They had been a playoff team in 95, famously, also 97 and 2000, and they were chock full of superstars during that era. But by 2001, many of those stars were gone. Future Hall of Famer Randy Johnson was traded during the summer of 98. Before the 2000 season, Mariners fans, including myself, were pretty heartbroken when franchise legend Ken Griffey Jr. was traded away to the Reds. Then before the 2001 season, budding superstar Alex Rodriguez left the Mariners. He signed a free agent contract with the Texas Rangers. So over the span of a few years, the Mariners had lost these three kind of franchise legends. So when Ichiro arrived in 2001, it sort of breathed new life into a fan base that had sort of been tortured by losing so many star players in this very short amount of time.
Okay, all right. Well, it set us up well then because Ichiro's impact was significant when he got here.
Yeah, he was essentially a phenom from the very start.
Swung on, ground ball back up the middle, that's into center field, and Ichiro is on the board with his first major league hit. A sharply stroked shot right back up the middle, off Miguel Tejada, the shortstop, and on into center field. So Ichiro receives a standing ovation. You can see the Japanese flags waving all over the place down the right field line. Something that I'm sure he has dreamed about comes to fruition here in his first major league game. He picks up his first major league hit.
So here's kind of a mind-blowing way to think about Ichiro and just how elite he was as a hitter. In his third game ever as a Mariner, he raised his batting average above 300, and he never dipped below that mark for the rest of his career. Historically, 300 is viewed as a mark of hitting excellence. Most players will never hit 300 once in their entire career for a season, but he did it from game 3 on for the rest of his career, which is pretty astounding. For me, anyways, he was like the coolest player I ever watched. When he walked up to the plate, he would sort of windmill his right arm, tug on his sleeve, point the bat forward, almost as if to say, I'm going to hit the ball right through the hole there, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, players have these kind of quirky routines when they step into the batter's box, but Ichiro had sort of a style unlike anything a lot of fans in the U.S. had ever seen.
And I would imagine that that's one of the things that draws people to the ballpark is that kind of charisma at the plate, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Ichiro was different in other ways, too. He wasn't this big, hulking slugger. He was kind of small for this era of baseball. He was 5'11", 170 pounds. He wasn't a power hitter, but his contact skills were elite. He rarely struck out. He was really fast in baseball, speed kills. He was able to collect a lot of infield hits on plays that would normally be ground outs for most players. And once he got on base, he was also a prolific base stealer. In his rookie season, he stole 58 bases, which led the league. That first season, like I said before, was truly remarkable. He led the league in hits. He won the batting title. He was named Rookie of the Year and MVP. Only one other player in the history of baseball was the MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. He was also an elite defender out in right field. I want to play a clip that you really have to watch to believe. During his rookie season, Ichiro scooped up a base hit to right field and made one of the best throws you will ever see. Here is the late, great Dave Niehaus on the call.
So heading to third base is Long. The throw to third base, and they've got him nailed at third base on a tremendous throw by Ichiro. I'm here to tell you that Ichiro threw something out of Star Wars down there at third base.
What a call. That's an amazing call, Andy Hurst. You know, what was Ichiro's impact around the world? Because clearly the park was enthralled.
Yeah, his arrival here in Seattle was a really big deal for Japanese baseball fans. When Ichiro came over, he was 27, like I said. He had played professionally in Japan since the age of 18. He was a superstar there already. He won 7 batting titles, 3 MVPs. And some context here, when Ichiro came to the Mariners, he made history. He was the first ever position player from Japan to play in the big leagues. Before him, several Japanese players had found success here, but they were all pitchers. There was sort of this idea from people within the baseball industry and some baseball writers that Japanese hitters couldn't succeed here. That obviously turned out to be very much not true. After his arrival, the Mariners became a widely watched team in Japan. They garnered a pretty big Japanese fan base. Fans from Japan would travel to Seattle to watch Ichiro, to come to games. And when he first got here, there were nearly 150 members of the Japanese press who were credentialed to cover him. He was that big of a deal.
All right, and 2001 was a really special year for the Mariners. They made history that year, Andy.
Yeah, the 2001 season wasn't just Ichiro's arrival. It was this really kind of magical season for the team. That year they hosted the MLB All-Star Game. They went on to win 116 games, which tied the all-time record for most wins.
The 0-2 to A-Rod, swing, and a foul tip into the glove of Dan Wilson, who hangs on to it. And no baseball team in history has ever won more games than the Seattle Mariners. And tomorrow, they try to stand on.
They went on to beat Cleveland in the postseason. Unfortunately, after that, they fell to the Yankees during the American League Championship Series. That remains the closest they ever got to reaching the World Series. But despite that, it was a really, really great season for the team.
And I remember this vividly because I was the afternoon news host this year, and everybody would cram into the newsroom because we had TVs to watch, and the entire station would gravitate towards the newsroom for the afternoon games, and it would drive me crazy because I was trying to get ready to do the news, and everybody would be in the newsroom cheering and being sad. And anyway, eventually Ichiro had to move on from the Mariners. Andy, how did the rest of his career go?
Yeah, in 2012, Ichiro was starting to decline as a player a little bit. The Mariners were not a good team at that time. Ichiro had requested a trade to a contender, and he was sent to the hated New York Yankees. After that, he spent a few years with the Miami Marlins, but then he came back to the Mariners in 2018 at the age of 44, and in a very cool send-off, his final games came in 2019 when the Mariners actually opened their season in Tokyo, and it was sort of a full-circle moment, getting to play for the Mariners one last time in front of Japanese fans.
Wait a minute. Scott Service has come out, and the Mariners players are going to gather. This will be the moment. For the final time, coming off a Major League field.
So what's happening this weekend? This is not over yet.
Yeah, so on Saturday, there's going to be a pregame ceremony for Ichiro beginning at 6. Ichiro will give a speech, and the team is going to retire his number, meaning no player can wear number 51 again. It will be televised on Root Sports as well, and the team is having several Ichiro-related giveaways and promotions all weekend.
Seattle Now senior producer Andy Hurst telling us about the legacy of Ichiro. The Mariners are retiring his number on Saturday. Really appreciate it, Andy. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Today's episode was produced by Andy Hurst. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez and engineered by Vaughn Jones. Our production team also includes Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.